Hey, everybody. So this is going to be something a little bit different, and I'm going to see how this works. This is going to be relatively unedited. I might actually trim a little bit of this, but most of this is going to be just me kind of talking and rambling about things. But anyway, as you can see on the screen right now, I have downloaded an archive of every issue of Nintendo Power Magazine. And this was a magazine that I read a lot when I was growing up, and I probably actually still have some copies hiding around somewhere in my bedroom. But I was really fond of this magazine. This first page actually scrolls up and down, and there's some really interesting art, as you can see my cursor kind of circling there. But this magazine was a really big part of my childhood, and I always had one of these magazines with me when I was a kid. I always had an issue of Nintendo Power and my Game Boy in a backpack, and this is super nostalgic. And basically, what I've done is I've essentially picked at random this issue of Nintendo Power. This is volume 21, and I don't remember when it's from. I think it's February of 1991. To give you an idea, I think I was, 91, that would have made me about 7 years old, almost 7 years old. February 91, no, I would have been 6. Okay, so this was really cool to me because this was like my culture. This is where I got my love of video gaming and that kind of thing from. And I'm just gonna go through the issue with you. This might be a little bit of a longer episode. I'm not entirely sure, but we'll see. So all of these issues actually started with a 2-page ad that was like, "Wow, man, you radicalize your game with a subscription to Nintendo Power. Power up for just $15. And that was crazy. I mean, this art, this guy was holding the controller upside down. Look how crazy he was. Man, what is he doing with his life right now? Man, who knows? But yeah, here's the bottom half of it. He's got some monster claws going on, stylized Nintendo Power logo, and it was cool. This was a little fold out, and I think the bottom half on the back half of this was a card, I think. Let's see. Yeah, unmask the power animal in you. Yeah. So this was a front side top, front side bottom, back side top, back side bottom. And these subscription cards are made out of a different material, and I'm so nostalgic for this magazine that I even remember how rough this paper was. It was basically really rough cardboard. But yeah, I was subscribed to Nintendo Power, and this was super crazy to me. Alright, so it always started with the letter from the editor. It was Powerline magazine. Let's see, and they talk about some of the things that that this issue is gonna have. This little goofy art guy, super strung out, playing Nintendo, writing things down in his power meter. They're talking about Star Tropics and Kabuki Quantum Fighter in this issue, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, the arcade game. Magician, I don't remember. They have to be saying the wrong name for something. And then Ultima Quest of the Avatar. That was, man, I never had that game. It was always over my head. And what's really interesting too is if you can actually look at some of the credits, and you can see who is still working at Nintendo. And while I'm not super familiar with all of these Japanese names, I am familiar with Gail Tilden, and Gail Tilden, the editor-in-chief of Nintendo Power, is actually still working with Nintendo. I can't remember what she's doing now, though, but she's really important. I'm actually going to look that up, as a matter of fact. Let's sit here and actually look this up. Oh, she's not with Nintendo anymore, is she? No. Okay, well, she has founded a a game company called Oliver Henry Games. That's kind of cool. Huh, how about that? Actually, I should keep that browser up because I'm probably going to need it. And then looking at what else we've got. Howard Lincoln was a big part of Nintendo, and I'm not going to do this for every episode or every issue of this, I swear. But yeah, Howard Lincoln was a really big part of Nintendo. He was the one that argued for game ratings. And he supported Nintendo censoring their games when they got brought over. Which led to a lot of localization changes. But he was also the reason why a lot of Japanese video games made it here in the first place. He was also single-handedly responsible for the fact that we got Super Mario Bros. 2, the one that we know of, instead of the original Super Mario Bros. 2, which was just a harder Super Mario Bros. 1. So that's pretty cool. He's got a lot of history with Nintendo, but we'll move on and get out of the cast here. So yeah, the contents: TMNT 2, Kabuki Quantum Fighter, Star Tropics, Magician. I have no idea what this game is. Ultimate Quest of the Avatar, Gremlins 2 for the Game Boy, Round Ball Roundup. Oh yeah, the basketball games. In Your Face, NBA All-Star Challenge, Double Dribble, Players Polls, Top 30. So these are really great. We'll get to them at some point in the future here. So the Players Pulse was the mailbox. You know, this was their letters from viewers. And this one doesn't seem to have a theme. Their theme for next issue is: do you have a pet who's partial to NES games? Tell us about them. But sometimes they do themes for their letters. But let's see here. Jim Willits from Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania says, I was on a very boring 4-hour drive from Jersey Shore to Pasadena. So I decided to whip out my Game Boy. I was playing Tetris and all of a sudden, screech! My dad slammed on the brakes. There was an accident ahead and he was a little too quick at applying the brakes. The momentum tore the Game Boy from my hands and out the side window. Beep was the last sound it ever made as it flew down, down, down over the bank. Before my family or I knew what I was doing, I was out of the car and flying over the railing. I never moved so fast. While we waited about an hour for the accident to clear, my sister and I looked for the Game Boy. Finally, I faintly heard the music to Tetris. To my surprise, when I recovered my Game Boy, it didn't have a scratch on it. The rest of the way to Maryland, I had a tight grip on it. And the editors were always really sarcastic. It says, nice launch, Jim. If the Soviet cosmonauts hadn't already taken their Game Boys into orbit, you might have had a record. Because this story totally happened. Right? There's no way. No way. This entire issue is literally just, there's no way this happened. And this says, I read you wanted to hear about disasters. Well, I have a good one for you. Oh, I guess the theme is disasters. How about that? It started when my family moved. I put my NES in its box to be moved for the rest of our stuff. When the truck arrived at our new house, I ran out and immediately started to dig for my NES. To my amazement, a chair had fallen and the leg was stuck in the NES box. When I saw it, I freaked out. I opened it up and it looked terrible. There was a big hole punched in the top of the control deck. I cleaned out the broken plastic and I put in Mario Bros. 2 and wow, it worked. You can see the game pack through the hole, but it works fine. Jason Marks from Sandy, Oregon says, I don't believe that story for a minute. First off, the NES was not that fragile. But the editors, again, super sarcastic here. Warning, when moving, avoid placing chairs loaded with heavy objects on top of your control deck. Holes caused by chair legs are not considered normal wear and tear, not covered under warranty. Oh, that's too good. Then there's the article about the cat who likes to track the television screen and things like that. Just cute slice of life stories. So yeah, Turtles 2, the arcade game. So Turtles 2 was an arcade game first, and it wasn't called Turtles 2. It was actually just called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It was by Konami. Which was actually published on the NES by Ultrasoft. And the reason why Ultrasoft, or just Ultra Games or whatever, were publishing it is because Nintendo had a certain number of games which a publisher could put out per year. And by having like a subsidiary, you could work around it, being a more prolific publisher. So, you know, Konami had both Konami and Ultra Games, and I think Castlevania was published by Konami, and Ultra Games did stuff like, you know, Ninja Turtles and Metal Gear and, you know, weird, obscure stuff like that. And of course, there's a little teaser down here from the arcade to the NES, and they've desaturated the arcade picture and made it look closer to the NES. And I think in this picture, other than the fire, the NES version actually looks better, which is crazy to me. So yeah, it goes through, you know, the different characters, the different, you know, the benefits to each one, which is pretty cool. It was like having an extended instruction manual, but you're going to see something really cool here. In Nintendo Power, and for that matter, games media in general, there was a really prevalent idea that people wouldn't buy games if they knew if they didn't know what happened. And that was even happening like in the 80s too, and in the early 90s when it came to movies. Trailers would spoil so much of the movies and everything, because, you know, they thought people were stupid basically, and like they weren't capable of coming up with, you know, the idea of like, oh man, I want to see that because I don't know what's going to happen. No, they had to spell it out. And you're going to see what I mean, because this game has 8 levels, and I think this issue covers 6 of them, which is a lot. So let's see, scene 1, fire, let's save April. So this is an iconic scene, you know, oh look, fire, fire, and hang on April, and they jump down off the building. You walk through the fire, dodge the balls, and there's a, you can barely see this in the video, but there's a Pizza Hut ad on the wall, which is kind of cool. Pizza Hut actually did sponsor this game, and then when they released it later on different consoles, like the remake of this, they had to censor the Pizza Hut ads, which is a little crazy. So yeah, it covers the whole first level. And here's what's super weird. They never, I'll go back a page, they never said how much each attack does in terms of damage. But each one of the bosses, and again, this is really tiny text, each one of the bosses, underneath their name, it shows how much HP they have, or hit points. And I have no idea why they decided to say that, because that's irrelevant, because you don't know how much damage an attack does. But when I was a kid, like, I saw 60 HP, and I thought, oh man, I gotta hit this guy 60 times before he dies? It's crazy. Unbelievable. Come on, after that Shredder. I don't remember if this stage was in the arcade version or not. I think this was one of the NES originals. But I could be wrong. It's been a hot minute since I played the original arcade version of this. But yeah, there's the Shredder on the television, which is kind of cool, and another Pizza Hut ad here. You can actually see a little bit clearer here if you zoom. I mean, obviously you can't zoom in on a YouTube video, but you know what I mean. And again, here's Bebop with his amount of HP, 68, which is kind of high. And then Professor Stockman in the sewers. Baxter Stockman, man, 100 HP. I don't get it. Let's melt snow and rebold LLD, New York City. They misspelled that, and I have no idea how the proofreader didn't catch that. That's really, really bold. This level I'm like 95% sure was not in the arcade version. But that's okay. I mean, it was, you know, hey, they had to come up with something, right? And I don't remember who Tora is. Like, obviously he's like he looks like a wolf or something. I don't remember. Man, I need to play this game some more. So yeah, here's already level 4. Let's get to that secret factory, and they're talking about all the different enemies that you'll find here, and I don't know what this means. KNF, SF, HF, RR, D. What are these? I have no idea. That's super weird. I don't think there was ever a key for that either, unless I've completely missed it. And yeah, skateboard action, talking about taking a dive off that. Man, this game, man, the way that this magazine hyped up this game, it was so crazy. Like it made it seem like like Nintendo Power has a habit of making games seem like they're the best games in the world. Especially when I'm a kid, you know? I was little. But yeah, we're already up to scene 5 here. Here's a tip about, you know, making sure that your friend gets a pizza when he's low on health. That's crazy. And making sure if you want to make sure you want to know, you want to see who's which turtle, pick a light or a dark turtle. It's silly. Come on. Was that really a concern back then? And we're up to scene 6. Let's defeat this enemy's ninja magic, and we're on scene 6 already out of 8. And then over here is an extra turtle code to get 10 lives. And I'm wrong. Here's scene 7. So we've seen 7 of this game's 8 levels, and it actually does show off level 8, and level 8 was Shredder. That's crazy. They've shown off the entire game. And we'll go back to that in a second. But yeah, Stone Warrior, Shredder, Krang. Yeah, it's crazy. So Howard and Nestor. So basically, this eventually became just, you know, Nestor, because Howard Lincoln decided to drop out of the comic. But this was started by Howard Lincoln to promote certain games by showing off their features in a comic. And in this one, they're obviously talking about what looks like Mega Man 2, maybe Mega Man 3. I don't remember. 91 had to have been Mega Man 2. Nope, because he's using Needleman. This has to be Mega Man 3. Alright, weird. But yeah, this was kind of crazy. This was just a weird comic. But it was charming. It was really charming back in the day. Move on. Yeah, Kabuki Quantum Fighter. Now, they only called it Quantum Fighter here because, who knows, honestly. But this is made by HAL Labs. This is the same people that make Kirby, the same people that make most of Smash Brothers, honestly. So that's kind of cool. This was an anime-inspired game. I think it actually was about an anime in Japan. I don't remember. But yeah, when Colonel Scott O'Connor is zapped into a top-secret defense supercomputer to battle a mysterious invading force. Yeah, this was an anime. Had to be. So yeah, I'm going to skip through this a little quickly because I'm not super fond of this game. I don't think it plays very well, but just to give you an idea, remember we were talking about how these games, or this magazine covers games and just sort of shows everything about them, like points it out, all the secrets and everything. Man, again, they make this game look really cool, but then you see stuff like this, which is just a mishmash of screenshots and elevator scenes, and man, this was nuts. Good looking game though for an NES game. So yeah, that's the end of Kabuki Quantum Fighter. Now we're getting into the classified information. So classified information was always cool to me because it's like there's you know, secrets in games, and people write in and they can choose their agent number, but they're not gonna, like, you know, let you see your real name, you know. I actually wrote in when I was a kid too, and I have no idea, and I'm surprised that I'm not seeing like a From Agent 420 or anything like that. But yeah, Turtles Follow the Foot Clan for the Game Boy. You know, super secret bonus game locations. I had Follow the Foot Clan. That game was garbage. I hated it, but I was a kid and I played it anyway because, you know, what else was I gonna do? The Immortal. That game's bad too. I mean, it's not bad. It's just really, really hard. And then, of course, Dr. Mario. Everybody loves Dr. Mario. And this is just literally pressing select start A and B resets the game. Haha, you don't have to get up and hit the reset button on the console. That's cool. Super Mario Brothers 3, Anchors and P-Wings. Man, I think I actually cut this out and put it with the instruction manual for my game. Because I needed this. This was always super handy. And it shows you all of the super white mushroom houses that you can get. Mendel Palace. Man, that game did not get any attention whatsoever. And then Conquest of the Crystal Palace. I love this game. It's one of my favorites on the NES. Sound Test. I wish I'd remembered about this. Sound Test was awesome for that game. Had amazing music. Crystallis, always a popular game. Journey to Silius, always a popular game. And then here's the address that you'd write into to submit your tips and tricks. The Star Tropics. Oh boy, Star Tropics. Man, that was a game. Man, Star Tropics was like Zelda. This is what Zelda 2 should have been, rather than going side-scrolling. You'll see what I mean. It's like, hi, my name's Mike. I'm a baseball player from the mainland. My uncle, the famous archaeologist Dr. Steve Jones, has a laboratory here on Sea Island. The Sea Islanders call him Dr. J. I came here on vacation to meet him for the first time, but the day before I arrived, he mysteriously vanished. Now I've got to explore the islands to find him, and you can help. Your journey begins in Coral Cola. So, every level in this game was something cola, and they made puns the entire game about cola. Everything was something cola. But yeah, this was a really solid game. I really enjoyed this game. And these are really good drawings of the sprite art too. Holy crap! Like, look at this guy. This is the guy, and this is the sprite art. Like, this is like, obviously it's better looking, but like, that's very close. You did a good job, guys. Dang. And this witch doctor was always super spooky to me when I was a kid. The sea serpent. When I was a kid, I couldn't say serpent, and I said serpent, like, cause I didn't realize that the dash was something, so I just called it the serpent, and everybody made fun of me. I remember getting laughed at a whole bunch because of this magazine. Oh man. Find help in the laboratory. Navcom, which was actually just Rob. Which is really, really funny. This was the game, Star Tropics was the game that actually had the slip of paper in the manual that you had to dip in water to get a code to proceed. And that was like their anti-piracy check. I don't even think this magazine will tell you, even though they tell you everything else about the game. So I don't think they actually showed you too much about this game. I think it folds out into a poster. Yeah, poster. So yeah, on this issue's poster is a fold-out atlas. So yeah, there's even more hints. So it shows more of the game. Then we're gonna see that the poster is Metal Storm. We're gonna get into that in a second. We'll come back to it. So yeah, special feature Game Boy. They had one of these in almost every single episode, where they, or every single issue, I should say, where they previewed a handful of Game Boy games and said, hey, this is what's coming out, check it out. Gremlins was a bad game. They pushed it real hard in this issue, but it was a bad game. NBA All-Star Challenge. In Your Face and Double Dribble 5-on-5. Never had much interest in sports games though, but they sure did look good. Especially the Game Boy. Then there was Batman, Penguin Wars. Boy, I don't even remember Penguin Wars coming out. Soccer Mania and Mercenary Force. I remember Batman. Batman was a good game for Game Boy. Now playing for the Game Boy, you had Battleship, Chase HQ, The Game of Harmony, Gremlins 2, In Your Face, Jeopardy, Mousetrap Hotel, NBA All-Star Challenge, Power Mission, and Solomon's Club, all coming out at the same time. And the Game Boy Top 10 was Ninja Turtles, Super Mario Land, Final Fantasy Legend. Then of course you had Tetris, Dr. Mario, and then Gargoyle's Quest coming in out of nowhere. That's super cool. coming soon, Nintendo World Cup Soccer and Sword of Hope. So there were more RPGs coming. I think this was about the time they realized that the Game Boy was the perfect platform for a slow-paced RPG. Oh yeah, Magician. Yeah, I have no idea what this game was. It was by Taxan, though. What else did Taxan do? Taxan had a pretty significant amount of NES games from what I remember. G.I. Joe, Barai Fighter, Eight Eyes, Mappy Land, Fist of the North Star. Heck yeah, dude. But yeah, Magician. Never actually heard of this game. I mean, obviously I heard of it because I saw it, but I don't remember it. I think it just looked too complicated for me. So I never really bothered with it. Like, even now, I'm looking at all this stuff and how dense the user interface is, and I'm just super disinterested in it. The barren wilderness, the lakeshore, explorer's guide. Yeah, man, even now, as an adult, I'm just kind of like, nah. This is super disinteresting. How is... Man, I bet that there are some people who really, really enjoyed this game, but even looking at this right now, it just looks super, super unappealing. The Merle Forest has a snake, a dragon. What in the world is that? That's a lady's head. Man. Abaddon's Tower. But again, they showed off the entire game, and they show everything. It's like, only Abaddon remains. So, like, they went all the way through, and, they went all the way through, killed the last boss, and left that for you, and that was it. Alright, let's see. Power to the player. This is their rating. Power meters, and... man, I don't even know. Numbers game. I don't even understand what this was. It was like... their power meter numbers. Like, I don't even understand what all this was for. Like, what was the point? What was all of this? That's crazy. Ultimate Quest of the Avatar. Man, look, they're gonna go through so much of this game. I'm gonna kind of skim through this because as much as I enjoyed playing Ultima when I played a little bit of it, but this is another one of those super disinteresting games. Man, Britannia. Lord British, right? Ultima? Lord British? Yeah. The items of the Avatar. Stygian depths of the abyss. It's crazy. At the bottom of the abyss, Avatar Hood. The 3-part key will become one. I don't know, whatever. That doesn't mean anything to me. So, yeah, there was Counselor's Corner. This was where people would write in with simple questions, and then people would answer. Because they had game counselors, and this was the stuff you called, like, the 1-900 number for... on Nintendo Power. Yeah, this was crazy. Where's the Jailer's Key? So many people were asking questions about Dragon Warrior 2 when it came out, and Dragon Quest 2. That's what you know it by nowadays. Move the cursor to the space between the antidote herb and the wing of the wyvern and select the space as your purchase. Wow! This is absolutely one of those things that you had to know. Like, this was the puzzle that was made to sell magazines. It's crazy. Maniac Mansion. That game was something special. And then we've got two more about Maniac Mansion, but at the same time, look at these super 90s, early 90s people. Favorite game, Earthbound. So this guy was playing Mother 1, and he says this is his favorite game, but we never got to see it. Alright, Sean McGoldrick, what secrets do you know that I don't? It's crazy. Legend of Zelda, how do I get through the Lost Woods and the Lost Hills? So Legend of Zelda, yeah, Zelda had been out 3 years by this point, and they're still giving out secrets because this is such a popular game. This was nuts how popular this game was. Yeah, 2 more here. Legend of Zelda. This is spread across 2 pages here. But this is the Players' Poll. The Players' Poll contest. I'm going to flip back and forth, and I apologize about this. But You win a trip for 4 to FASA's Chicago BattleTech Center. This is the closest thing to VR you got. This was, you could pilot a BattleTech mech in a pod, and then you get the BattleTech board game and all that kind of stuff too. But FASA Games, man, that's BattleTech before MechWarrior. That was if you knew what BattleTech was in 1991, you deserve the title of nerd, honestly. So yeah, February 1991, now playing Galaxy 5000. This was a racing game. Kind of played like RC Pro-Am, but was a lot harder. You could fly off the track and blow up, and it was rough. Shadow of the Ninja, that was coming out soon. It's kind of like Ninja Gaiden, but not as good. Ski or Die, the sequel to Skate or Die. Yeah, that was not a good game either. Isolated Warrior. Man, I don't even remember that game coming out. Did it? I'll have to look. Cryon Conquest. I talked about this on our stream a little while ago. This is a game from Vic Tokai. And it was basically a Mega Man ripoff. But you got your powers up front instead of having to beat a boss to get them. North and South, the Civil War turn-based strategy game. Wow. And then the latest releases, Advanced Dungeons & Dragons: Here at the Lance, Flying Warriors, what else we got here? Cryon Conquest, The Legend of Hero Tanma. Did that come out in the US? No way. Turtles 2. So yeah, all that stuff that they showed about Turtles 2 in the beginning of this issue, the game had just come out. And they were already showing the first 7 levels of 8 levels. That's so crazy. And there's a Nintendo Power's Top 30. And Nintendo Power's Top 30 were, they were super rigged, I believe. So for ages and ages and ages and ages and ages, Super Mario Bros. 3 was the #1 game. And it stayed there until Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past came out on the Super Nintendo. And when it did, Link to the Past didn't move until they discontinued the Nintendo Power Top 30. It was nuts. But yeah, you had Super Mario Bros. 3 in first place, Final Fantasy in second, and then Play Action Football in third? Above Mega Man 2? Above Castlevania 3? Above Chrysalis? Above Dr. Mario? Good lord. Yeah, Legend of Zelda was number 10. But then all the way down here at the bottom... Oh, it's not even on here this month. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, Zelda 2, not even on this... Oh, there it is, right here. Number 21. So it was 11 spaces lower. But then you've got, you know, Ghostbusters 2, which was a notably terrible game, was showing up here. Super Mario Bros. 2 was at 16, which I guess I get because Mario 3 was out. Mega Man 3, lower than Mega Man 2? What? No way. And for some reason, launch title Pinbot, all the way at the bottom. So this is another thing that they did on the top 30. They had a player's picks, pros picks, and dealer's picks. So basically, player's pick was what games people who were, you know, casual players liked the most. And this was like a survey I think they did in the magazine. And the number of votes shows up here. And the #1 game for casual players was Mario 3, and then Turtles 2, Mega Man 2, Final Fantasy, Mega Man 3. But yeah, this was super biased, I feel. And then the pros picks. This was pro gamers. This was like their the game counselors picked these, I think. And it was Final Fantasy, Crystallis, Destiny of an Emperor, Play Action Football, and Mega Man 2. And the first 3 of these are RPGs. So if you're ever wondering, how come, you know, it took this long for RPGs to become a staple in, you know, in the United States video games and that kind of thing in the West, people were playing RPGs for a long time. It was the casual gamer who wasn't super fond of it. And here's another thing that really gets me too, is this was dealer picks. This was what games that retailers were selling out of the most, which was super weird to be transparent about to me, I feel. But they did it. And of course, Mario Brothers 3, the new hotness, is number 1. Then Dr. Mario popping up at number 2. Man, moms and women loved Dr. Mario when it came out. I almost didn't get my original Nintendo back for like 6 months when Dr. Mario came out, because my mom and my sister did literally nothing but play Dr. Mario. It was nuts how popular that game was. So yeah, next page. Vlade Divac and AC Green of the Los Angeles Lakers. Not big on sports, but I don't remember who, I guess it's Vlad Divac? I have no idea who this guy is, but I do remember AC Green. So on the NES Achievers list here, this was, people would show screenshots, and send it in, and they get their name published in the magazine. It's always fun to look through this, because you might actually see people that, that you recognize. But yeah, I definitely remember some internet famous people nowadays would have written in, and you can find their names, but this doesn't look like one of those where you can find them. So then you have Packwatch, and Packwatch was what games are coming out in the near future. So you had Adventure Island 2, and I remember Adventure Island 2 being super hype, because Adventure Island 1 was just a port of the original Wonder Boy, but Adventure Island 2 was where Hudson Soft actually went original with the game. Still played like the original. You couldn't really go backwards too much. You still had to collect fruit, but now you could ride dinosaurs. And I remember riding the dinosaurs was super hype, and I had a lot of fun with it. Star Wars, the original NES Star Wars. Then Double Dragon 3, trash game. But yeah, this was super big too. During the Las Vegas Consumer Electronics Show, Nintendo of America Incorporated called a special press conference to announce that the next generation's 16-bit Super Nintendo would be introduced in America in September of 1991. Due to the high demand for the system in both Japan and the US, quantities would likely be limited at first. Production will be increased in 1992 to fill as much of the demand as possible. And the first game on the first page that they show off is SimCity. And I think that's really funny. And you've got Shigeru Miyamoto sitting here. That's a really, really young Miyamoto. Holy crap. And then a really, really young Will Wright, too. Jesus. Man. Like, that's just really... These are super beta screenshots, too. Because, like, the SimCity logo in the corner wasn't there in the original game. And the colors for residential and commercial are different. Yeah, this is super crazy. The first game they show off on the first page about the Super Nintendo is SimCity. And then they just completely skip over the rest of it. They don't talk about it anymore. Scat. That's a terrible name, but this game was based on basically action movies, alien movies at the time. And then Totally Rad. That was a really poorly translated game, I think. Average. Totally average game. And Wolverine and Terminator 2. Just another couple of LJN games. Not super great. Yeah. The Game Handler joystick. That was garbage. And you got Swordmaster. I don't remember Swordmaster ever coming out. Nobunaga's Ambition 2. I never thought that Nobunaga's Ambition were popular games, but apparently they were. So we're getting close to the end of this issue, and as a matter of fact, I think we're actually here. So yeah, Gossip Galore. So these are games that, this is just their the previews of previews, basically. Lolo 3, Space Shuttle Simulator, never heard of that again, I don't think. Microprose, F-15 Strike Eagle. The Little Mermaid by Capcom. It was utter surprise of a Nintendo game. That was really, really good. Bandai's Rocketeer, which I think isn't actually like 4 issues from now. There's actually a preview of that. 2-player Pac-Man on the Game Boy, Nintendo Sports Set. That was the thing with the pad. 4 controllers, NES Satellite, double game pack with Super Spike Volleyball and Nintendo World Cup. Oh, okay, yeah, okay. So this is the one with the four-way gameplay. It just came with the NES Satellite and 4 controllers. That's nuts. Did they ever make that? I want one of those. And then coming soon, you got Adventure Island 2, Base Wars, a baseball game, Beetlejuice, Bill Elliott Super NASCAR Challenge, California Raisins Chase HQ, Indiana Jones The Last Crusade, Mini Putt Monopoly, Princess Tomato and the Salad Kingdom, which you would think is a fake game, but no, it's real. Sim City. This was actually, they were previewing the obviously they were previewing SimCity earlier in the issue for the Super Nintendo, but no, this was actually talking about the NES versions. It was NES Planner SimCity. There was a SimCity version that was going to be released on the original Nintendo, and they canceled it because the Super Nintendo version was so much better. And then coming later, yeah, Battletoads, Darkman, Double Dragon 3, Earthbound, which, holy crap, 1991, it's already getting previewed. Jetsons, Flintstones, Little Mermaid, New Kids on the Block, that never came out. Mech Warrior, Tailspin, Wolverine, Star Wars, holy crap. And I don't see it in this issue, actually, but there's usually a little warning that was like, hey, make sure you don't use your Nintendo on rear projection televisions because it'll cause burn-in. Please don't do it. That was always really funny to me. But yeah, that's actually the entire issue. So let me know what you thought of this. This was just sort of like a little rambly nostalgia trip for me, and I got to talk about some video game stuff, and that's always something that I really enjoy. So if this is something that you liked seeing, this sort of like super casual content, let me know, because I'll keep doing it. But in the meantime, if you're just now watching it and you're not a subscriber to the channel, hit the subscribe button. Maybe I'll do some more of these. If it gets a good reception, I'll absolutely do some more of these. But yeah, thanks everybody. Appreciate you stopping in, appreciate you watching it, and I appreciate you sticking around this long. And I'll see you guys on the next one.